thought maybe I'll just talk about life in general. I think a lot of people have this sort of like belief of how things would turn out if they move out of their comfort zone and try to step out of their boundaries and do and discover something new. And this is the same for me, like um, back in 2017, when I decided that I would move out of India and start everything fresh. And that is quite intimidating. I'm not gonna lie, that was one of the biggest decision I had taken. So it was something that kept going on in my head. And there was some insecurities and stuff like that I was very stressed about, and I had no idea how I'm going to go over it. But it was just like I went with the flow, and this stuff started happening. So even though this wasn't a very spontaneous decision, like I was at the back of my head, this was the major plan of stuff. Like it was something that I was deciding or trying, and I was aiming for. Eventually I didn't decide on the timeline when I will do that, but I was most certain that I will probably do that, and I would do my masters, not in India, from abroad. Yeah, I will get a lot of slack for that because why couldn't you just do it in India? Why could you la la la? And there's a lot of people who have this ideology that stuff is always better outside. No, that wasn't my opinion. That wasn't the case here. I wanted to experience something different. Being in India, I would always have the support, to be supported by my parents, and I did have a lot of backup. And my reasoning for going abroad was something that I wanted to do stuff independently, because for majority of my life, I had this backup, and for some reason I wanted to give myself a jolt and be like, no, I can't have that anymore, and I have to start building up on myself and start doing. And I've always been this like very introverted, shy person, and for me it was a great push to go outside my comfort zone and do something on my own, because I was always studious and I was always working hard and I was always into studies, and I wasn't the rebellious kid out there that did things out of their own. I did rebel, but mostly was certainly to my courses, to my studies, and it didn't go beyond that. Like I'd never had, gone out of the way to do anything. Like even my parents to that extent were like, oh, you should probably play outside, have fun. But I wasn't that kind of a kid. I was very super laser focused that I wanted to make something out of my life, and I had a very big plan, sort of like a very very big plan. And I still laugh today about the same thing, because I was so meticulous with everything that I had in my mind. And also like grooming myself, doing a lot of like reading. This was something that I had always thought about. Like this wasn't even something that was like, no, no, this is not going to happen, I'm just doing it out of passion. No, that was, everything was a step into like something, like it was a building step for something or the other. And I kid you not, like most of the kids around my age were thinking about, okay, we would probably go out, have vacations, probably do this and that and blah blah blah. And me at my age, I probably would be 10 or 12, and I used to talk to my mom and say the same things, and I still keep saying the same thing eventually. Like, no, I want to do something big. Like I want to like do something crazy. Like I want to achieve so much. um, I always was very competitive when it came to studies. I always wanted to be at the top. It always did seem to happen most of the times that I was very good at studies. I did get a lot of compliments for being the nerdy kid in the class and being always on top of my game. But seriously, that wasn't the thrill or the excitement to go abroad. That was why and how I was always like in a shell. I knew I was good at studies, and and I wanted to shake it off a little. Like I did wanted to do something that would be a different experience altogether. And I thought maybe if I stay in India, I might not have the same kind of exposure. I might not be able to come out of my shell like so many years I was in the same kind of personality where I felt like I was a little underconfident about my own skills, about my own personality per se. Like I didn't know how to gauge my skills. Like to be fair, I was always like underconfident, and I felt like something needs to change. I need to give myself a push. And even during my undergrad days, I think I felt the most undervalued, and I was at the lowest. I would say I felt like so terrible inside of me that I wanted to kind of do something really out. Like I, as a personality, I always wanted to be somewhere at the top, and seeing myself kind of averaging it out didn't stick out to me. Like I didn't feel right. It wasn't something that I was supposed to be in the longer game of plans. And I've totally changed now, and I totally gave up that thought process because that was so jarring. Like it was so incriminating. Like I don't want anyone to be in that kind of mindset, and it was so bad. Like I'm covering so many things now that of my personality that were kind of very stressing, but now I feel like I'm in a good spot to talk about this, and that's why I made the decision or the call to move abroad. And I thought maybe this would give me a push to be a little more extroverted because I didn't have any other option. Like I cannot go back and just have things done for me. I won't have that kind of responsibility. And people do ask me this question a lot of times, like, oh, you decided to move abroad because you didn't like it in India, you're so like classy and you're like classist or whatever was being given to me. I'm not like that. I literally didn't stand out even to one particular person who would say the same thing about me. I wasn't at all materialistic. I wasn't at all even concerned about the way I or the brands or anything like that. I wasn't the kid who would be. I was very, very humble in my upbringing, and I'm super proud about that. I lived in the best of places. I know that, and I have a lot of gratitude for that. I wouldn't even like ignore that fact. I am super humble for the fact that I had a very good upbringing, but at the same time, I'm super proud of the fact that I had a very humble upbringing where things like flashing and stuff all around and money, that didn't even come as something that was very important for me and my family. The only thing that mattered the most at that time was getting the highest qualification, getting yourself educated, and to be up there in terms of your own merit. Like you don't have the silver spoon, but that kind of also made me a little more introverted. And as I said, I wanted to shake that off because I do have certain tendencies where I feel a little bit not doing well, and I do like kind of have this sudden urge to like outperform, do like crazy stuff that would put me on the top of the map so that people are talking about me, like in a good way, not in a bad way. And that happened, and that really pushed me far beyond my expectations. And then thought, like, when I was in India, straight after my undergrad, I started working. I worked there for almost a year, and then I was like, no, I have to go for my masters, because if I get stuck here, then I get stuck here, and I'll be too comfortable in this situation to ever think about moving on. And I was very in a very comfortable situation. Like I did cry, whine about like this for 2-3 months, but at the end of it I was like, sort of getting the hang of it. Like, I'm getting used to it, and I'm getting used to whatever is thrown at my way, and I didn't want that to happen. So I decided, I did a lot of research, and I also wanted very less pressure to be put on my, so I had a little bit of my savings, and I did have few of my dad's okay pay that I could use, and I'm very grateful. Again, I decided to do my masters. I did get a lot of scholarship also, so not to discount the fact that I got like 50% scholarship. So my education fees was very less. It was very less and wasn't as high enough that would put us in loan, or we'll have to borrow loan or something like that. It was very convenient. I think it would be comparable to most high-end colleges in India as well. I think the amount you paid there is also equivalent to what I paid here. So I wasn't very stressed in terms of my education because of the scholarship that I got. I was super happy for getting the scholarship, and that's the reason also why I made my choice, because I got the offers from UCD Dublin, I got the offers from TCT Dublin as well, and those are the best colleges in Dublin. But I didn't want to go there because I wasn't getting as high scholarship as I was getting in UL. Yeah, that's why I made the call to move to UL. It wasn't certainly because and also I didn't want to pressurize my parents, I know, in cases of emergencies or anything like that. So I was very laser focused. I had everything planned. I went ahead, did my masters, completed my masters, started working, had few like very like tension, stressed moments here and there. But this is what you went there for. don't I don't have regrets for anything in life, and touch wood, it has been such a great experience for me to be here, to explore a different. And I've been here for now 5 years in Ireland, and I don't like necessarily ask anything different in my experience. I would say like I got the best of everything. I got good experiences. I got like good, even though the harder aspects of living abroad, I sort of like channeled it in a way where I was going go go go, and I didn't stop. And I think that was important because it made me realize so much that at times you don't have anyone, but you still have to push through, because in life in general you can only get as much you can, and then you're on your own, and that's very important. That's a very important lesson. I wanted to sit down and kind of talk about all this because I felt like someone out there who is probably struggling needs to listen to this and be a little more relaxed, a little more put out of their misery, because um, there's not a lot of people talking about this, and this is very important because this is obviously not taken into a very serious stride, but there are people who struggle quite a bit, and sometimes the struggle and the stress get the better of us. And I've seen it myself. I've seen it I've seen quite a lot of instances, even during my masters, that I didn't actually get the opportunity to talk about, but there were some hard instances that I had to go through, and I wouldn't ever wish that to happen to anyone. But you go through stuff, and then you realize, oh, if I could personally go through that and come out of it, then I probably would be able to handle anything. And that's one thing that that kept me going. And again, there's a lot of people who keep telling me that you weren't supposed to go through it and you could have just been, but I tell them that you know that was important for me to have as an experience, because if I wouldn't have had that experience, or if I would have slowly gotten back to my normal lifestyle defeated without anything in hand for what I had gone out, I would never be this person that I am right now. I think I would have lost my battle even before fighting it. I think for people to understand this very line is so important, that you do whatever you want, but at the same time, like, if you feel like you give up before even trying, that is lost battle. Like, this is done. You can't like necessarily do anything after it. And I'm no guru, I'm no like expert in all this stuff, and I really don't have any like idea of what I'm talking about. But believe me, my experiences and everything that I've had, and I'm super grateful again for that. This is all this is all important. Like, this is all very important stuff that needs to be spoken about. Like, I don't find anyone talking about this, and I feel very like, I think when I was going through a very hard time in my life, and there wasn't anyone who had basically had the same kind of like, there wasn't anyone talking about it, there wasn't anyone who actually had any sort of like, I used to watch videos online and get across people who would be sharing their hard times and struggles, but there wasn't anything to do that was quite similar to my experience, and I felt like a little bit like I had to kind of see through their eyes and try to comfort myself. And I feel like, I believe that there should be someone out there speaking their heart out about all these things, because who will, and then there are so many people out there who kind of are struggling, and I feel the same empathy for them, because there's something that I've experienced myself, and I would be able to put myself into their shoes and realize, because sometimes a lot of people just like, when you're talking about your problems, they sort of like go away and like shove it off as if nothing really matters, like it's just a very small thing that you shouldn't be talking about, you shouldn't be bothered about, you shouldn't be talking about this to your family, or sometimes even the situations, you can't really express it too openly to your family or your friends. And that's why I thought maybe there is someone who is actually struggling, can hear this out, and maybe this gives them some kind of inspiration, whichever form it is. I think that's my job done. I think I don't have to go around helping people. Then I think this could be enough to help reach people. And as I said, I'm not here to like brag or say anything about what I've achieved or not. I don't even consider myself important enough to give advice. But I think this is important um, to just the people out there. Like, there's so much to look forward to, and small things like this doesn't matter. It just happens. It just passes. So cool.